Alright, welcome back to What Remains of Edith Finch. So that last story was pretty depressing, but I'm gonna finish this game anyway. So let's see what else there is. There's seems to be like a fireman's pole here, so I don't know if there's something back. Okay, so we got some rock climbing.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died.
A rock climbing
At the
wall
time,
here.
it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
So that's Sanjay.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Oh, so we're not gonna get some sort of depressing death story here? Alright.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later.
Well, I guess that's one thing about living out in the middle of nowhere is you can see all the stars.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again.
Doesn't look like Milton was very good at growing plants. Lewis, on the other hand, might have had a green thumb.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal.
I guess someone was homeschooled? So it looks like Edith and Lewis.
But it didn't last.
Alright.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Oh, that's right. They don't know what happened to Milton. Yeah, he had all those missing flyers. Oh. Oh, this is really cool. So, if you haven't played The Unfinished Swan, this is sort of like the town kind of looked like this. So what you started with was just a white screen in front of you, and you would throw paint. And the paint would then tell you, would sort of show you the walls and everything. And so that's how you made your way through the towns, were by throwing paint and finding out the path to take. So I wonder if they're trying to tell you that Milton was the character from The Unfinished Swan. Well, maybe this'll...
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Some audio issues there. Could just be my headphones, though. Yeah, I don't really know what to make of that.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
If you haven't played an Unfinished Swan...
Spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
And you kind of like these walking simulator type games, it's one definitely to check out.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Okay, so I'm guessing we're going up these stairs now.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room, except Lewis.
I think I know why. Oh, okay, so it looks like if I went the other way, I would have got past the second set of stairs there, so... This is definitely where to go.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
He's got a hookah. He was certainly into some recreational drugs here. So Lewis Finch locker contents. Is there anything? Oh, what's
Lewis
video
and I
game?
spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
I know that feeling. Alright, let's see what's in this box here. So, Dawn Finch.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Oh, alright, so we're cutting fish heads off.
He kept working at the cannery. But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander.
Oh no, okay.
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about.
Oh, not that way. So the left analog stick is controlling whatever that thing is, and the right analog stick is cutting fish heads.
Then something moved.
So it's...
Bats. And toads.
This is going to be interesting.
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself.
Oh, so we're controlling like a wizard.
But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend.
It's very weird doing both of these at the same time. Moving this character and cutting fish heads.
Named Lewis Topia.
Get out of here.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something.
Well, at least the story for this is a bit more cheery.
Every day his imagination grew stronger.
Ignoring the whole drug
He
thing.
no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering.
That was very Mario.
It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis.
Oh no, don't crash.
He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
handsome queen. That's what we're going with.
handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for
Let's go for sinister serpents.
the serpents.
Whoa. Oh, we're gonna go the hard way.
He followed the sound of her
Electric sitar.
electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Oh, so many fish. Are they gonna keep track of how many heads you cut off?
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Alright, so no more chopping fish.
He began to forget the world we know.
Certainly wasn't very secretive about his home life there with the drugs and everything.
I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Okay, is this anything down here? Nope, it doesn't look like it. Oh, some sort of conveyor belt.
I still thought I could save him.
This doesn't look like it's gonna have a happy ending either.
He's being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Mind you, this is all in his head too, so I can't see how this could have a happy ending.
Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do.
God damn it.
Bend down his head. I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Alright, looks like we got one more left.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
So this, I think, is Edith's room. Yep. Yep. Well, at least we know she's not dead.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Uh-oh.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Ah, so we're finally in the library.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
History of the Finches.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Alright, I'm gonna try and keep heading straight.
I got turned around.
Oh. Let's go around this thing. I'm pretty sure it's right straight ahead.
For a while, I wondered. I started seeing things.
Oh. Hello.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go. I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone.
Like, dead or left?
After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by.
Okay, so shake it.
My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself.
I think we're about to be born.
I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Wow. Very depressing story, but really well told. I really liked how, as you found out about each of the Finches, like it was a different way of telling their story. But man, was it depressing. I believe this game actually won Best Narrative at the Game Awards when it was released. Definitely well deserved. I'm probably just going to let this play out, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you could share, like, subscribe, that would be great. And we'll see you again soon with... I'm going to have to find a game that's, you know, not a horror game and not a depressing game, just to give myself a little bit of a break. But again, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Grayson out.